DroneTalks is an online platform to spread ideas and to educate in the drone ecosystem. At DroneTalks, we discuss technology, regulatory, business and ecosystem topics openly with industry leaders to enable and foster innovation for a better future.
Hi everyone, I'm Esther Kovacs, founder of DroneTalks, and today I'm talking with CEO of Unifly, Leon DeVos. Hi Leon.
Afternoon to you.
Welcome here at DroneTalks. So I find it super exciting. You took the lead of Unifly, one of the UTM leader. And I had a few hours talk with you previously where I could receive a lot of information about your background. So you worked for Philips and you led a lot of initiatives in technology fields. So I'm just wondering, why drones? What do you see in drones? Why you decided to be a CEO of one of the UTM companies in the drone ecosystem?
Because as you already little referred about it, is that all my life I was, let's say, in disruptive innovations. It started with 96 or even in 92 with testing systems for neurosurgery. Then I moved to Schlumberger, now Gemalto, because SIM cards were kicking off, something new. Then I moved into the mapping with Tele Atlas, now TomTom, the navigation on mobile phones. I worked in the mobile gaming in 2000 when mobile gaming did not exist in Europe. You already mentioned Philips. Philips was developing the UE light, the connected lighting of Philips, that you can change your light settings via mobile phone. Nobody knew how to sell it. I sold it to Apple, and Apple is now representing it. So you see me that in my career I was always in these disruptive innovations, and that's why when I think it was 4 years ago, 2016, 17, when I was working for HERE Technologies, let's say the location intelligence company, the mapping company, they will ask me, Leon, can you think about new dimensions of our business? And were for me two dimensions in mapping where the world really did not have good solution. One was indoor, so that's why with HERE we bought some companies in the indoor space to really set up indoor navigation and mapping. And the other one, and that's why it was my link to Unifly, was about the low altitude airspace. I saw that many companies were investing in 3D maps, 3D buildings, but nobody was really willing to pay for it. It was a nice to have, but not a must have. So I was looking, where can we use our 3D data and sell it? Now, one was the drone space. So we said, whoa, if we can not only sell the data, maybe we can really enrich the data. Meaning, if you have the data, a static map, if we add weather and we add all kind of other data, we can really make a dynamic data in a third dimension. And then the word came up, what we call a digital representation of reality. Some people call it the digital twin. So, and that's what we want to build for drones. And then we said, if we want to build that digital representation of reality, we need in fact access to somebody that, let's say, approves those flights, because every flight that is approved is in fact a highway in the sky. And in that way, we were looking to the market, and then we looked to the players. At that moment, it was Unifly and AirMap. These were the two, let's say, at that moment, I talk about 3-4 years ago, the major players in the UTM space. And then we spoke with AirMap. We spoke with Unifly, and then it's just maybe because we are Europeans, is that the AirMap had more the American approach, federated system, disrupting the industry, and Unifly was much more a reserved company, also maybe because they came from the airspace industry. They are air traffic controllers and pilots, and they had the approach that say, let's do it together with the local authorities and the airspace authorities. And I really liked that approach, together to create that business. So that's why HERE at that time was also the supplier of the base map. And slowly we start working together with Unifly. And then it was, I think, 6 months ago when the chairman of the board called me and said, listen, are you interested in maybe to take an active role in Unifly? And in fact, immediately I said yes. Why? I love the space, I love the company, I love the opportunities, and what I most like is that, and I was in an open table from the European Parliament last week, I'm still struggled with the thing about, is UTM eating ATM or is ATM eating UTM as an industry? Yeah, and that is a very interesting discussion because I really could see that in 20 years from now, a UTM system could slowly also be integrated and or taking over the major ATM features. And that's for me a very exciting idea that you can be as a startup that is already fully digital by its start. It could take over a system that is, with all respect, 60 years old, with radio beacons. So that's why I'm excited about joining a company like Unifly.
That sounds very interesting, and your history is impressive, I should say that, Leon. And you know, I clearly see that you believe in drones as an innovation. Well, what do you think should really happen in the next few years for drone traffic to become reality? What is the big bump? What should happen?
The big bump, I think it's a combination of a few things. First of all, governments have to allow it. And the issue with governments is that they're not the most risk-taking institutes in the world. So for them, they're very conservative in that sense. And I understand that because it's about liability. Same what is withholding autonomous drive, because I was the last 6 years in autonomous drive space. We have the same hurdle. Technology-wise, any car manufacturer can drive a car from A to B. That's not a problem. It's all about the liability that it goes with it, and then who takes it, and that has to translate into legislation and the regulation around it. Same for drones. So who takes the liability of those drone flights? And I'm not talking about, because I'm not interested in this VLOS, visual line of sight. For me, where it really takes off is the beyond visual line of sight. That is let's say, the professional part of the business, with all respect. But that's where also companies like Unifly provides systems that are inevitable. It's a must-have. So you cannot do large-scale BVLOS flights without a proper UTM system in the world. So that's why that is the future of UTM for me. That's number one. Second one is technology, and it's not about the technology, because I think AirMap and or Unifly and or Altered Angel, I think we can provide a proper system to fly from A to B. That's not a problem. The problem is if the venture capitalist and private equity company that are at this moment funding us are patient enough to allow us to create that new industry. So I think from a technology point of view, together with the drone manufacturers and the GSM and or SIM-car manufacturers and or other technology providers, I think we can make that puzzle to make safe flights possible. It is much more about the leeway that we have to make it happen. And the third one and last one, I think it's an important one, is about what are the business opportunities and the acceptance of drone flights. So one of them is, of course, let's say the citizens, particularly in urban areas. If people are a little bit scared about a drone, about the privacy, about safety, etc. And that's also for me where it should start off. Not so much in the air mobility, where of course it's sexy, it's hot. It's fantastic, but I don't think that's where it will start. So I think that we should look in the world that we go more in a phased approach, and that's also a little bit the difference with the American approach, is that we believe more in a staged approach rather than just open up the market and let the companies do it. I think it started already in defense, of course, many years ago. Then it started with, let's say, the land survey applications, huge opportunities in the world like India, where there's still a lot of work to be done on the land survey as such. And then I think slowly it will be more the applications like the survey and the inspections. I think the legislation now becomes serious around that with the new European legislation. I really hope that industry will take off. that it is much easier to do your flights and to plan them instantly rather than to wait a few days or a few weeks for an approval. Then, of course, I think a lot of opportunities in emergency services and or survey for police, fire department, ambulances with defibrillators, etc., like we have them in Holland already. And last but not least, yes, then you start with, let's say, logistics, either from packages and or in the future from people. And in that order, I really see the market evolving.
That's a lot of use cases, and I do see the difference, providing service with drones than without drones. So, as a last question, I'm just thinking, what's your estimation? When can we see flying drones everywhere? When it will be accepted by the society? So how would you estimate it in years?
That is I forgot my crystal ball today, but out of my head, what it will tell me is that I think the next, let's say 5 years, it will be mainly in these enterprise applications, where, of course, and I'm talking about worldwide, not only for Europe, but it's agriculture, it is land survey. I think that's where it really can mature a lot. Then the second one is, if you talk about delivery of packages, like in emerging areas, like in Africa, like in rural areas, like in Canada or other countries where distances is a matter. I think that there really the beyond line of sight flights will really take off. And we already in the first projects now in Canada, where I say, whoa, that is really a serious application that I really think that will take off. Another one is within more urban areas. We will see a lot of uptake about what we call local authorities, local airports, but also inspections in ports, large ports like Rotterdam, Hamburg, Le Havre, you name them in Europe, Rotterdam, Antwerp, where you see that if it really takes off with the legislation, you need a proper UTM system. You have to control who's friends and foe. You have to regulate it also the combination with general aviation, because in the same airspace you have the general aviation like helicopters passing by. So I really think that UTM will take off in those areas. Another area is with airports, with remote towers, with counter UAS systems. Also there, I think that the UTM players can play a role to be the prime interface with those different systems. Then I think after 5 years, I think then the delivery really takes off, and then initially more in medical field, where you have, I think, fixed lines in the air, let's say controlled corridors, I call them, and then those controlled corridors where we already have the first projects now defined, where there's much more room for, let's say, professional fleet management systems, and that you have flight pads, where you have charging stations, where you have fixed lines where drones automatically fly within that corridor. Can be medical, can be parcels, can be anything that brought from A to B, particularly in countries, for instance, like Denmark is an example, where we have the health drone project, for instance, where you have a lot of islands. So there's much easier to bring a thing from A to B with a drone than doing it with a vehicle for DHL, for instance. So for me, there are a lot of things that are taking off, I think, in the delivery space after 5 years. And then I think slowly we're going to be ready for more let's say the air taxis, the delivery of people. Also there, I think there are two questions. It's one of them is the viable business model. Do we really solve the capacity of transporting people? I don't think so. It is more convenient. So the question is how big that volume will be. And also where, because there's a lot of complexities, because you have to bring people from A to B, but it will be a multi-modal thing. It cannot be door to door. So there I'm really hesitating how fast it will take off, because although I don't don't doubt if the E-wings and the volocopters can build a safe solution. It is more the adoption and the regulation to fly to the airport, because for me it only makes sense if you land on top of the terminal. Then know that you land 5 kilometers away from the airport, then I still need a taxi or an underground to reach the terminal of the airport. So I think that there it's not so much technology that is, but it's more the regulations that allow these air taxis really to be as close to door as possible. And define the landing spots and charging spots, by the way. So I think there are some, let's say, technical challenges with charging and landing spots, and there is an adoption and or business model. How much do I pay more to fly with that kind of air taxis compared to a fast underground or an autonomous car, for instance. So that's a competition what I'm facing there. So I see that longer term rising, but not really, let's say, the first 5 to 10 years, with all respect. That's my crystal ball, Esther.
Sounds great, Leon. Sounds great, Leon. Thanks a lot for the interview. I had a lot of takeaway from it, and thanks again for speaking with us.
Always welcome. Good luck. Bye-bye.